Hello, everyone. Jubilee Lipsy here. For those of you who don't know, I do have a section of my YouTube channel called Awaiting Arrows, and this is something I started a couple of years ago to just as a place to just share perspective and process what God's been teaching me through this journey of awaiting arrows, as in children are like arrows in the hand of a warrior. As my husband and I have been waiting for children. So if you do not know at this point, my husband Tim and I have been married almost 11 years and haven't been able to have children yet. I believe we have a promise from God that it will happen, literally, biologically. There's nothing physically wrong that anyone can point to. IVF is not an option for us unless God moves us in that direction at this point. We've done deep tests, deep work to get to the roots of what often isn't explored before IVF gets slapped on the table. We're just trying to be led by the Lord in this, just as a recap for where we're at. I know I'm not alone. I'm very well prayed for and supported. This is not an indictment against anyone. I'm not looking for apologies or pity or even comments. I'm also not looking for encouraging words unless you know it came directly from the throne of God. Like, this is what she needs to hear right now. It's just that on this journey, most of the relief I experience comes directly from God. And one of the few things that helps in relation to other people is to open a window occasionally and share perspective. I think it can be healthy to help each other understand what something costs someone else. It's therapeutic, and on this journey, few things are. So if you do anything with this, please just use it as a way to pray and understand, and not just pray for me, but also pray through anything you might be struggling with, just with fresh perspective. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel angry. These are just some raw, unfiltered thoughts that I don't do this very often on here, but I just felt like it would be helpful to talk them out as I was praying them out today. So all of these have been continually processed with the Lord as well. So I'm just going to get into it. It's just very casual, unfiltered, no particular order, but just where I'm at in this part of the journey. I would say we've been trying specifically for at least 5 years, but married for almost 11. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today or just mention is that unless God is directly speaking to someone, no one has the right to tell a woman to just lay down the dream of having children. There could come a time when she has to, but for a woman who has the God-given desire in her physical body as well as her emotions, it's not that simple. I think it would take the direct command of the Lord as well as a lifetime of walking it out his way to even conceive of that. Painful pun intended. No human should be the means of forcing a woman to take on a crushing burden that God didn't put on them. And just for a side note, if you are worried about the toll that trying for children is taking on a friend, you could say something like, what is God saying to you lately about how this is affecting you, etc. And this goes for anything too. If your friend is not married or your friend is praying for healing and you're worried about the emotional toll it's taking on them, there are more sensitive ways to address that. It's just not as simple as you think to just lay it down. Secondly, and I'm reading off of, some notes I have, the hardest thing for me about not having children right now and imagining not having children is that it isn't one of those desires that's simple and momentary. It's not just something that, oh, yay, I have it, I'm done. It's a creation and delight of God that is all throughout Scripture, all throughout the Christian community, all throughout the world, and deeply ingrained in so many other experiences, ministries, joys, milestones. Not having children wouldn't be the death of God's purposes, but it would be a slow death that I would have to die over and over. I mean, no birthday parties, death. No kids on Christmas, death. No seeing your parents be grandparents, death. No one to take care of you when you're old. No sports events or recitals or daddy-daughter dances. No one to eat the cookies you made. It's just death, 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 death. And I'm not saying that God wouldn't be in it, or that his purposes would die, but that's just why it's not so simple. It's so intertwined with all the milestones in life. Another hard thing for me about not having children yet, not knowing when I will, is that it's so tough to let go of the confusion surrounding why you have to feel like your desires and your maturity are under a microscope while others simply have kids with no prerequisites. If you believe God is doing a mighty work in you through this, that helps a lot, but didn't he want to do it in other people too? Why couldn't he do that mighty work in me with children along for the ride? It's something you have to work through with the Lord as he allows, and sometimes put under the category of mystery, but that doesn't mean it goes away or is easy. It's also tough how the journey turns time against you. I feel a struggle against age and milestones. I don't want it to be like this, but it's a fight to feel like I have so much I wanted to give away, and I'm feeling held back from being able to experience the biggest ministry opportunity I spent my life preparing for. It's just very hard to be trusting God for a promise when you don't know when it's going to happen, because time is not standing still waiting for the promise. It's reality to realize that the landscape is changing. And as much as I want a kid, I also do care how and when it happens and who's alive and young enough and able to participate. I want several kids. I've already lost my grandparents. I've lost my father-in-law. It's tough to realize in the midst of waiting for one child that I also have to lay down the how and the when and the situation along with that. And life is just full of constant reminders that, having a kid in your 50s is different than in your 20s or 30s. I would like to say I trust God no matter how it's going to look, but it's still scary. I'm willing to be on whatever journey God has me on, but I also hate being part of this club against my will. And I guess you get to follow God and decide with him what your involvement is in the Waiting to Have Children club. But that club comes with so many assumptions within and without it that I just don't fit with. And I don't like having those assumptions forced on me like some sort of shameful hat I have to wear, that like you're all of a sudden enrolled in this club that you didn't ask to be a part of, and everyone assumes that everyone in this club is the same. So that's tough to navigate. Something that really rots too is the lack of comfort from anything that should be comforting. I want to talk about it and I don't. I hate talking about it with people who have no idea what it's like, and I hate talking about it with fellow sufferers because everything hurts. Everything people say sounds stupid. If you got a baby, I'm jealous. If you didn't, I'm tempted to take on that fear. So talking to people isn't the therapy that most people think it is with this topic. And there's a true desperation for God in this because literally nothing else helps. And desperation for God is beautiful, but it's not romantic. It's not this fluffy thing. It's raw and ugly sometimes. Sometimes it looks like hours of screaming and begging him to penetrate the cloud of despair, and then you get a prick of a pinpoint of light. And that's all you needed, but then you have to do it again next week or next month. It's just a lot. So being desperate for God is a gift, but it's not fun sometimes. It also strikes so close to identity as women, and it's so hard to see other women being praised for being like, oh, you just can't stop having kids, or you're a fertile myrtle, or whatever, as if they had anything to do with it. It's, of course, something to celebrate. And I hate this ugly thing that rises up in me to steal other people's joy, because I don't want to do that. It's not from God, but it's so hard, and it feels like there's nothing else you can do with the pain except make others feel it too. And that's a lie, of course, but it's a hard one to resist. You barely know it's happening to you, and then something ugly just comes out of you. The lack of visible progress makes it extremely difficult as well to go through this process. If you study the science of habits and how God wired us as humans, progress and reward is so deeply ingrained in the motivation of what we do that it's really hard to have something this meaningful where you have to stay so focused and built up, and yet with no progress that you can see. It's so discouraging to fall back on God again and again and have to say, I have to be responsible, but I also can't make any of my efforts matter. And I can't pick myself up when they fail. I literally can't do anything. You have to help me, God. And again, it's a valuable lesson to learn, but in the midst of it, it's just hard when you don't know why others aren't having to learn this in this particular way. And when you're just auto-presented with IVF as an option by people who've never had to consider it, that's hard because people have no idea that it's not super successful. It's not easy. It's not even ethical depending on how you treat it. It can be ethical, but it's not automatically just ethical in every sense. So it's definitely treated as the mainstream and only option when it's not. And there's a lot of lies women are being told surrounding it. And it sucks that this, like, you get this beggars can't be choosers kind of attitude. Like, if you don't choose adoption or IVF, you're not trying hard enough. Those two options are life changers. It's not, it's like telling someone they're being too picky with who to marry. It's literally that level of life changing. So it's not a light decision, and it's tough to know when and how to even begin to explore one of those when you never thought you'd even have to have an opinion about that. So, like, just telling someone, go adopt or go do IVF, like, it's just not that simple. Like, you go do it, like, it's not that simple. It's also a grief journey, but you're grieving not having had something instead of being able to look back and say, thank you, God, for the years that I had with that person, etc. And it's tricky to navigate that while trying to trust and hold promises and live with the joy of the Lord. It's hard to accept that this is what I'm doing with my time rather than raising kids. It feels like I skipped to the empty nest and the everyone's leaving and dying stage before I even got to experience life as a young person. And I believe it's coming, but it's hard to be here now. It's hard to see also what this does to your husband, because you're never feeling the same thing at the same time. And he's not feeling physical things, so he's very blindsided by what happens to you emotionally. And it's a mercy that you're both different, but it's still tough to see that this is happening to him too, even if he's not guilting you or anything. It's just that I feel like I have to grieve his side of it too. Every month I don't get to be a mom. He doesn't get to be a dad. And for me, when you're married to an amazing, godly man, I mean, I know there are a lot of amazing men out there, but sometimes I look at certain guys and people are like worshiping them, and I'm like, you don't know my Tim. You just don't. And it's almost harder to think about his loss than mine. I also hate what this is doing to my ability to just rejoice and be glad with people and my love of family. I don't want anyone to feel badly or hide their joy because of me. But it hurts. Like, I don't want to say it hurts like hell, because thank God I'm not going to experience that, but it's infuriating levels of pain. And I hope I've done well so far at not making anyone feel badly about being pregnant, but let me tell you, it is just the hardest thing in the world to rejoice with your face while your body is in agony. And then you have the guilt on top of it, the voice in your head going, you're so evil and selfish. You can't even enter in. Like, would you like someone to treat you that way? And I'm at the point where I am terrified of children and celebrations and milestones and families and anything of the sort. Any reminder of any milestone, it's like kryptonite for me. And so I really am feeling from the Lord that that's kind of the next thing that he wants to address with me, not as a way to like fix me and earn children, but just for my health and maturity. That's another thing I'd like to tackle with him. One positive, I would say, just to kind of bring this to a redemptive close, and when I say positive thing that I've learned, it's not that I'm better than others because of this, but I do have a perspective I didn't ask for nonetheless. And it's from pressing in. It's not like when you go through something tough, you automatically get perspective. You have to be willing to press in to the Lord. It's what you do with what God is doing, basically. And I'm still working on it. I haven't arrived. But one positive I could point to in all of this is that life is carrying joy and pain at the same time. That's just how life is. And some people don't learn that until they're years into the journey. And it can be harder to give God back something that you felt you earned or deserved. So on a certain level, I am privileged because I'm getting to learn to give my children to God before I even have them. And so there are certain things that it's sort of a productive thing that I can do with my emotions, that if I can learn to steward this well, I really don't need to be afraid of anything else that's coming, because I'm very well aware that once I have that positive pregnancy test, it's not like the fear just goes away or the insecurities go away. There will be new things to trust God with. And so I might as well practice now. And, there was an old singer, Rich Mullins, who used to have his church on direct deposit for all of his earnings. And then they would write him a check for what an average man in the US would earn. And Rich said, if I knew how much I was actually earning, it would be even harder to give it away. And sometimes that's sort of like the perspective I'm learning, is that sometimes having something easily come to you first and then having to give it back to God and let him do what he wants with it is hard. So I would say everyone has a different maturity journey, but no matter how easy or effortless something was for you, whether it was kids or marriage or career or whatever, don't sleep through it. Don't assume that just because something was easy for you, that that's just like, oh, well, it was just easy for me. Don't sleep. Stay awake in it. Let God lead in it. Press into him. Don't settle. It was his first and he gave it to you. Don't believe the lie that says, oh, I'm just one of those blessed people who everything works out for. Press into him. Recognize that it's his. Whatever he gave you is for his purposes. Ask him to shake you free of any idolatry, because that is what is going to enable you to steward whatever it is well. And I can honestly say that I already know that that is so worth it, even though I'm not living necessarily in the reward of that at the moment. I believe fully that the reward of learning to give God back something that you don't even have yet is so worth it. And so that's kind of the redemptive piece of this, and the way that you can connect with me in this, even if you don't know what it's like to go through this journey. You're going through your own journey. So I hope that some of this has given you perspective on not only how to pray for me and people like me, but also how to seek the Lord yourself in certain areas where maybe you've kind of discounted it because it was super easy for you, or an area where you feel really desperate for God and it's not fun and you're not liking that. Just be encouraged that we can make it. We are making it. Sometimes it's hard to recognize that this is the journey for me, but I am grateful for those moments when I'm able to stop and say, you're helping me make it, God. I'm going to get through because of you. Like, this is supernatural stuff that you've given me the ability to do. So all in him and all for his glory. Thanks for listening.